Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Enricher Business Circle. I'm your host, Redrika Bennett, and I am super excited for our guests today. We have not one, but two guests. They are both amazing CPAs. We have Kina Morgan and Kimberly Johnson. Kina and Kimberly, welcome to the show.
Thank
Hello,
you for
Rika.
having us.
Yes.
So, I really want to jump in and talk about your aha moment that made you kind of transition from corporate America to actually helping small businesses, because even
Mhm.
in the finance sector, it's hard to find African American women that have been in that sector so long and been successful at it.
Mm-hmm. Whew, that's a loaded question there.
I'll let
We're
you
starting
start,
off
Kina.
strong.
Right. I'll let you start, Kina.
So, well, again, thank you for having us. And I made the transition out of corporate. It was now, gosh, 4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 years ago, and almost five, really, because actually, I know it was April Fool's 2021.
Yeah, wow. Yep.
I decided I was
Almost
no
five.
longer going to be the fool. But yeah, no, I think that it was yeah, it was. I started really April 1st, 2021. And the reason I remember that is I had been in corporate. I had been at a consumer products company for about 15 years. And before that was at another company. And so I'd been working in corporate for well over 20 20 years, well over 20 years. And it was for a lot, I don't regret any of the time because I learned a lot about my profession. I learned a lot about finance, managing budgets, managing big projects, big system projects. All of that was great. The catalyst for leaving was all of the reorgs, all of the, you realize after a while that you're just a gerbil on a wheel,
Mm,
and you are, you think you're going to contribute. And for me, the big thing that was why I was ready to go was I had done a really big reorganization. I mean, I worked on it for almost an entire year and finally got everything done. It had a people impact, it had systems impact. I did all these different things, was so proud of it. And while we were just getting going, getting things going, I was getting my team gelled, I was doing all these different things. Within 6 months, they said, okay, we're breaking the whole thing up and we're sending half of it to India. And so I felt defeated. Like I felt like I had put all that time in, all that work in for what? Like what was I doing it for? So that was actually, that probably happened about 2 to 3 years before I actually left. But that's where I've said that I fell out of love. It was a transactional relationship at that point. And so for me, so then after that, we kept having reorgs like every 12 to 18 months. And so that final one was my opportunity to leave. And I started working with a small business, realized that I loved it, realized that a lot of what we do, I realized a lot of small business owners had no clue what to
mm.
do financially. And I was like, oh, well, this is what we need to be doing. This is kind of the mission. This is the passion. And so that started the journey.
Awesome. What about you, Kimberly?
So my story probably starts from when I graduated from college. I don't think I've ever been a corporate person, ever. Even when I was in public accounting, the main reason why I moved from Charlotte to Atlanta is for the opportunity to audit nonprofit and colleges and universities. I don't think I've ever been a corporate person. So then I would work jobs. I'd quit jobs. I probably would quit and say, one time I quit and I said, I'm going to go get my PhD. This is after I got my MBA. And I was sitting there and watching them teach us. And I was like, I could do that better. And so I was going to get my PhD and teach. And I said, I don't want to do all that research. I don't want to do all. So I went back to work. And then I went back to work and I got in a position that I didn't like and I quit after 6 months. And then the pandemic hit. Then I went back to work. I will say that the ultimate decision for me was my personal life. Throughout my entire career, I was driven by the calendar, and my balanced partners were celebrating milestone birthdays during times when I should have been working real hard and couldn't go to celebrate. And I was saying, I'm not going to go, I'm not going to go. And then I said, F this job. I'm going to live my life. And so I knew that time I was leaving it for good. And of course, Kina's like, come work for me, come work with us, come work with us. And I left for good. But also, I'm able to realize another dream that I've had, which is teaching, because now I teach part time. I
Okay.
teach accounting part time without all the research and stuff. I teach. But my love for small business accounting and consulting is there's a teaching element to that too, because we are teaching our clients how to run their businesses. We're teaching them how to read their financial statements. And ultimately, I've always been a teacher at heart. It's just that the corporate world helped finance my lifestyle.
Awesome.
Yep.
And I definitely love the fact that you had that aha moment of being able to say, okay, I need to have some type of self care in the balance of this. And kind of, as you said, Kina, come off of that hamster wheel of
Oh,
life.
yeah.
Because
Mhm.
many times in corporate America, um, people just burn out and start having so many different health issues because
Yes.
they're not
Mm-hmm.
valued. They're looked at as a dollar sign.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I tell people that sometimes it becomes you're like in a toxic relationship. So, where you thinking it's love and that person being your corporate America job just likes you. And
Mm-hmm.
so so that becomes a toxic relationship, um, that you're putting a whole lot more in than what you're getting out. And, when I tell people, when you start to feel that way, you need to leave because you will start to internalize it and have health issues, as you mentioned. Um, and you realize that where's the joy in it? And
Mm-hmm.
we spend a whole lot of hours working,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
a whole lot of hours working. To be miserable just isn't worth it.
Right.
So, even though the experiences weren't always great, are there like some skills or some experiences that you've gained that you're actually using now in your current role?
Oh, absolutely. That the one thing I will say is that, oh, it definitely, for me, it was not always bad. I was probably more of a corporate person than Kimberly ever was. And so so for me, because I got to do some really cool things. I got to see most of the world. I saw a lot of the world on the company's dime because of the jobs that I was in. So
Mhm.
that was great. Seeing and meeting other people and other cultures really expanded my mind a lot. And so being able to understand other people, definitely. Also having the experience of the work itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Managing financials, managing balance sheet, profit and loss statements, things like that. Understanding how people think
Mm,
in regards to money and finances. All of those things um, have been able to inform what we're doing now. I could not have left and done this, like, well, one, I definitely could not have done this right out of school,
Oh, no.
and definitely could not have done it without having all of the experience, because that's really what people are hiring, is all the experience that we have gained over
mhm.
almost 30 years that allows us to be able to really support people now. So um so I probably wouldn't, like, it's kind of like having, I wouldn't have a doctor who's in their residency do my heart surgery,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
right? They need some guidance. They need to
Right.
learn some stuff, right?
Some
And it's the same.
experience.
They need some experience, and so that's the same thing in our profession. Is that there? We were in a residency, but
Mm,
now we're specialists.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
And for me, in addition to just years, almost 30 years of working in the accounting field and getting that technical experience,
Mhm.
I did a part of my job was always accounting research, and so it helped me to learn how to learn. If I didn't know something, I know where to go to get the information.
Okay.
And I also working for a lot of different companies. I've worked for more companies than Kina, I think. Pretty sure I have. Like
Yeah.
moving around because I'd quit a job and to go work someplace else. Just to see how these companies operated and how they dealt with their banks, how
Mm.
they dealt with their HR, how they, I mean, so many different things that I was able to see from my seat that I can talk to our clients about when they do something, not just the clients, even my students. I will say that even with teaching, the class that I'm teaching now, I would not have been able to teach right out of school because I hated that class when I was in my accounting program.
Which one? Cost
But
accounting?
cost accounting, yes.
I knew it.
But yeah, but having worked in the industry and seeing how businesses operate, I love that class because I really can take that class and show my students, hey, this is how it works and bring it home. But also, I take some of our clients' issues into the classroom and say, look, my client is dealing with this. And I use that to teach and get ideas for the client sometimes. So, yeah, it was just like Kina said, I had a almost 30-year residency to get all this different knowledge and be able to share it with, small businesses so they can succeed.
Awesome. So, Kina, I guess this
Mhm.
question is more so for you. What are some kind of challenges that you've actually faced or opportunities that came into place as you transitioned and started a
Mhm.
company? Because going from accounting, just looking at numbers, and then actually doing the grunt work of starting a business, those
Mhm.
are two different cycles.
You got that right. There are. And so there's actually three in the Your Balance partners. And so our
Okay.
third partner, April, we'll shout out April. She's the entrepreneur of the group. She's the
She's a
risk taker,
visionary. Yes.
right?
Okay.
So we each kind of have our strengths. She's definitely the risk taker. I call her the ultimate hustler. The Rick Ross song, I always sing it every time she's doing something. I'm like, every day I'm hustling. And so she was always like, Kina, if you build it, they're gonna come. And I was like,
Mhm.
I don't know. April, I can't be broke. Broke and me never got along. So
I
I
was about
like
to quote a line. I was about to quote a line from a rap song that would
yeah,
not be appropriate.
yeah,
But yes.
yeah. So you know I was like, I like nice things. And so she was like, no, really. And so initially I was thinking, so one of the challenges to me was making sure my money, the cash flow.
Mhm.
Cash flow was always my biggest concern. So, and being an accountant, I am not a risk taker. And so for me, I had to make sure I kind of built up enough money, and then I also left with a severance package. So so that gave me some, okay, I know my mortgage and my utilities and all that will be paid, right? I mean, I had to make sure I had that covered. So for me, um, knowing that I had that figured out, it
Mhm.
allowed me a little bit more freedom and like, okay, if I don't make money initially, maybe I'll be okay. But actually what turned out happening in terms of the if you build it, they will come. I left my company on March 31st and I started with my first client on April 1st. And it was totally because one of my old bosses, which this is what's so important about making sure people build a network,
Mhm.
Hmm.
and that you always treat people well. You're like
Right.
being kind and also being responsible, accountable, showing up. If you tell people you're going to do the work, you do it.
Right.
Um, those things will prove well for you when you go out ready to do something on your own because
Hmm.
you've built a reputation as I'm a person of integrity and I'm a person who gets things done. So an old boss who was retired, all that, called me up and said, "Hey, I think I got somebody for you," out of the blue. I hadn't even really left yet. So I actually had secured my first client before I had actually quit my job. So that allowed for me to be like, okay, my lifestyle can continue a little bit. Um, and so that was one of the initial challenge, and then just kind of making sure I knew all the things that you need to do to set up a business,
Mm-hmm.
going in and just getting the bank account, making sure I was set up everything with the state, making sure, those kind of things, doing it for myself and making sure I understood it before I went out and helped others. So that was actually also a good thing.
And two key things, because even though I say, I quit jobs or whatever, there's not a company that I quit that the people I worked with wouldn't hire me again. So that's the thing about building relationships. And
Not burning bridges.
even when I left my last corporate position and joined your balance partners, the first client that I brought on at the time, I was walking through the airport, ran into somebody. How are you doing? I'm doing good. I'm branching out on my own. She said, we need somebody to help with, this area. And I, that was, I'm not going to name the company, but yeah, that was one of the first ones. And we don't burn bridges, whether it's my classmates, my former professors, people that I worked with before, all of them. If I called any one of them and said, "Hey, I need to work again," they would let me work because I never left anyone in a bind. Like my last job, I told them 2 months before I left that, "Hey, I'm gonna leave," and I helped them hire my replacement.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely love it because I wasn't in corporate America, but I worked for the government for some years,
Mm-hmm.
and for me, I feel like the government is more political than corporate America, and you have
Oh.
a lot of road bumps off of politics
Mm-hmm.
more than anything else. But I definitely don't like to be broke.
Yeah.
So I was doing marketing part time when I
Mm-hmm.
first started, and
Hmm.
when my marketing just was making more money than the government job, I was like, why am I going to work?
Right.
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 So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I said when this contract is over, you guys won't see me. We're not renewing this contract.
Yes. Yeah. And that's,
And if I
yeah. I
could,
mean, go ahead, Kimberly.
no, I was gonna say if I could add another shout out to April, our third partner. April has built businesses like she was the first one that said 20 plus years ago, Kina and Kimberly, we need to start a firm together. And Kina and I were like, we don't want to work that hard. But she has, yes, a hustler, but I know that when I was doing my LLC for one of my job breaks, she was the one that I could go to and tell me this is what you need to do, this, because she's been doing that, setting up businesses and
Mm-hmm.
helping with that for decades. So yeah, have to shout her out on that one too. The risk taker knew what was needed to get that business started.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, it's like leveraging your network is important. Those
Mhm.
who have done it or know who've done it and people that you trust
Mm.
and being a trustworthy person, I think brings
Mhm.
trustworthy people to you.
So I want to kind of dive in and so people can understand what it is that you do and offer for business
Hmm.
owners as CPAs and as having your own business now. Because I know a lot of people don't really understand what fractional means when
Yep.
they hear fractional. So could you tell more people about what a fractional CFO is?
Yeah. Sure. Sure. So look, see, that's how pumped people are on fractional CO. Even the dog is
They get
pumped.
excited.
They get excited. Uh, but yeah, so what we do, what our firm does is we provide finance support end to end. And what I mean by that is we do everything from your accounting for your transactions and building your financial statements. So we have people in our team who do that, all the way up to us at the CFO level that helps you build out your strategy. And
Mhm.
so so it's a combination. So fractional means that you don't have to pay for it full time. So if you were to hire a full-time CFO with our experience, you're looking at 250, 300,000 a year, right? A small business cannot afford that.
Right.
And so instead of hiring one person full time, you get to like just take a little piece of their time. So you're
Mm.
paying for a piece of their time and you're sharing it with other small businesses so that you don't have to pay for all of it. So that's what the fractional piece is. And you get the level of knowledge and expertise that we have. And a lot of people, one of the big things that we see is people like, well, I need a bookkeeper, you know. So this bookkeeper term has gone around a lot. And bookkeeper and accountants are not the same. They're not the same. And a bookkeeper is a necessary person. And why I always use the medical field as an example is, the bookkeeper is like your nurse practitioner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they can, and sometimes maybe even the person who supports the nurse practitioner, really. So they know how to do enough. They can draw your blood. So they're like a phlebotomist. They can draw your
Mm-hmm.
blood. They can take your blood pressure. And so we need all that, right? We need all that data in order for the doctor to come in. But the accountant is the doctor. So the accountant comes in, they're the one who can read all that information about your body and interpret it into something. Now that nurse or that person who is junior to the nurse, they've learned a lot, right? So there's some
Mm-hmm.
terminology they can say, I think you may have high blood pressure because I've been working with the doctor for a while and I know, some of these readings. So they have great information, but they are not the expert and they're not the ones who can clinically say this is what you have. I could prescribe you medicine. I could do these kind of things, right? And so that's what you're hiring when you're hiring your fractional CFO. You're hiring
Yeah.
your heart surgeon and to do your heart operation. You wouldn't want your nurse to do that while the nurse has a valuable role.
Awesome. All right,
Good stuff.
and with that, 'cause I definitely agree with you because I feel like for when it comes to bookkeeping, you got to make sure your profit loss statements are together, and that's the major goal of your
Yes,
bookkeeper, so that you'll know what's going in and what's coming out and what you're spending the most money on. But
yes,
when it comes to your accounting, they do a deep dive into all of those reports to say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, this quarter you weren't doing
yes,
so good and you spent this
yes,
amount of dollars, and why was that? They ask the
Yes.
questions behind
yes,
why you're
exactly.
doing something so you
Exactly.
can reevaluate stuff. Um,
Exactly. And we also can help you avoid some of those things that you do. Like,
Mm-hmm.
based on our experience, we can say, hey, maybe you should go about negotiating. If you're working with certain vendors, maybe you should negotiate this type of thing because industry wide, this is a better deal for you.
Yeah.
Or, so we can help you avoid cost as well to help your business grow. And we do everything, and it's called GAP, which is generally accepted accounting principles. So
In the
we
United States.
in the United States, and that is the standard that that I'll let the professor explain it better. That's the standard that we use. Professor, can you, Professor Johnson?
Yes, so there are certain rules to how you account for your transactions, where they show up on your profit and loss statement, where they show up on your balance sheet or your statement of cash flows. So yeah, so when you talk about, a bookkeeper and you said profit and loss statement, and
mhm,
that's what everybody wants to know about. But your balance sheet and your statement of cash flows, that's where banks and lenders and investors, that's what they're looking at.
That's who
So
you are.
generally, yeah, generally accepted accounting principles in the US, because now, other countries have their own principles. We are bound by those principles to
mhm.
make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be in your financial statements. And so that's the accountant, but as CPAs, we also have ethical obligations that we're bound by as well, like as it relates to maintaining our license. We have to uh well, we have to take classes every year. not all CPAs, it depends on where you're certified, but I know you have to take a class on ethics and there are standards that you have to abide by so that when they see that CPA after your name,
Mhm.
whoever's looking at your financials knows that there's no shady stuff going on in there.
And if
Right.
there is, you can report them. So if
Yeah,
you're
we
working
get in
with a
trouble.
CPA who is doing shady stuff, because evil is amongst us, then there is a pathway that you can shut down their license. So
Hmm.
that's why we take it very seriously. We take reviewing people's financial statements and the confidentiality around their information very seriously, because it's important to our profession and what we've signed up
Yes.
for.
And before we go, I want to make sure I ask one more question. What are like some practical tips that you would tell business owners um, so that they can maintain their finances and keep their finances healthy?
Okay.
Go ahead.
What I'll start with our main what we preach. The main thing we preach is knowing, understanding, and tracking your cash flow.
Mhm.
Because some companies think, oh, I made a sale, right? I sold this service or whatever, I got cash. Well, depending on how the timing is of your payments, you have revenue but you don't have cash. And
Mhm.
so with that, we help our clients track their cash flow so we'll know what we expect to come in and when we expect it to go out. Like a personal budget. Every month you've got your mortgage, when your car note is due, all of that. We stress with businesses track that. Have like a calendar so that you know when it's coming in, when it's going out. There may be some weeks when it's low, so we can say you might not want to do anything extra this week. We're prepping for this time. So
Mhm.
cash flow, understanding your cash flow and paying attention to it is probably the most important thing that we preach to our small business clients.
I
Kina,
love
you
it.
want to go for the next
Yeah,
one?
no, I would just, yeah, I
Another
would add to it that you have to look at your financial data. And so that means you need people to build it. And
regularly.
so know your
Mhm.
strengths, be honest about what your strengths are. A lot of entrepreneurs, numbers and accounting is not their jam. That's okay. It's our jam, right? Get someone like
Mhm.
us to work with you, and will be willing to teach you how to understand your financial statements. Because you need
And
to
no,
know what's going on. You don't build your financials for your taxes. You build it to
that's what
run your
I say.
business. It's not for taxes.
Right.
If I hear that one more time, I'm gonna scream. It's for you. If you wanna be Jeff Bezos or whoever, Oprah, whoever, you need financial statements for you.
Because those statements go a long way.
Yes.
Mhm.
They tell you who you are, they help you make decisions. They can, they'll tell you when you can hire, when you cannot. We tell people we are interpreters. So we have your financial statements built, your financial statements are Spanish, you speak English, we interpret it for you. That's what we
Mhm.
do.
Yeah, I tell anybody that your financial statements are leverage because that's basically your check a blank check that you can write.
Mhm. Yes.
Exactly.
Well, Kina and Kimberly, I am so excited to have you on the show today. And it has been a great conversation, especially about the journey that you guys took from corporate to actually doing small business. Because I know my undergrad is in administration with a minor in accounting, and
All
Okay.
I
right.
for me, I don't even look at my my stuff like that. I pass it off to the CPA. I
I
have
want you to look.
You look, yes.
I look at the numbers, and if the report doesn't look right, I have a team meeting. I'm like, hey, what's going on in these areas?
Well, that's what we're talking about.
But
Yes.
like
Mhm.
as it looks like the check and balances and all of that, I'm like, I'm gonna pass that over there. I have outsourced as much as possible to take stuff off my plate.
Well, that's
Yeah.
important, right? You gotta find those partners you trust that you
Yes.
work with.
And you know you know what questions to ask. You know
Mhm.
the right questions to ask when you meet with your accountant.
Right.
You need to vet people, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Yes,
anyone because they say they're a CPA. Make sure
that's
they actually
right.
have a CPA license because anybody can put that title on their name without having that license. Because I've ran into clients who've actually said, "Oh, I have a CPA," and they do not have a CPA.
Yep. And
Hmm.
you can look it
So
up in the state. We're all in the
Yeah.
state. You can look and see if our license is active.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I definitely think that that's one of the biggest things, making sure you vet the people that you're working with so that you know that your business is actually going to be successful and don't have any problems. And guys, if you want to connect with your balance partners, you can do so at yourbalancepartners.com. You'll see that going across the bottom of the screen for those who are watching. And for those who are listening, you will be able to see it in the episode comments. And to all of our listeners, I encourage you to evaluate where you are now in your business so that you can leverage and take an opportunity to grow better and learn more about not only yourself, but your business. Until next time, have a great day.